Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदानेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। बोलो श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। बोलो श्री राधे गोलोकानंद भगवान की जय। हरे कृष्णा
Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna, Bhaiya.
हरे कृष्णा
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Right? Hare Krishna रीना जी, हरे कृष्णा अनिल जी, हरे कृष्णा। हेलो प्रेम सर, हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna, Krishna Bhai.
अजय, हरे कृष्णा। Cool. So after a long pause, I think this is the longest pause we had, almost from December to March. So 3-4 months. But I guess time to restart, right? So hopefully everyone had great holidays in December and everything else. How is everything going so far?
All good.
All good. प्रेम सर तो महाकुंभ भी जाके आए।
आपके पीछे पीछे.
Yeah, it was really nice. Amazing experience at Kumbh Mela. We went to Ayodhya, also Kashi.
Yeah.
Kumbh Mela, Vrindavan. It was a nice tour.
We did Kumbh Mela and Ayodhya ji.
Ayodhya.
Mm.
Nice. All right. Anyone else had any adventures? No? All right. So we'll get started. तो हम लोग actually, if we see Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 12 cantos, right? Just to recap a bit. So we have 12 cantos, यानी कि 12 books हैं, 12 skand. And हम लोग chapter 9, canto 9 में है, about the liberation. So we completed up to 8 skand. And we started canto 9, liberation. Hello, Hare Krishna, Ajay.
Hare Krishna.
And in the 9th canto, we are on chapter 10. And the chapter 10 is about the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, Rāmacandra Bhagwan, right? I think most of us know the story of Ramayana, right? That's about Rāmacandra Bhagwan. So in this one, what Sukdev Goswami ji is saying that Srila Sukdev Goswami describes these pastimes in brief, right? So we'll see a very short story of Ramayana. Because, of course, as we know, Rishi Valmiki has already described the Ramayana in a big sense, and then we know that Tulsidas Ji Maharaj then again described the whole Ramcharitmanas, right? His transcendental pastimes, and as we know, he appeared as the expansion as an avatar along with Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughan, right? So that's what we are reading right now. And last time we read Shlok 8, right? And if you remember how many shloks we have in Srimad Bhagavatam?
18,000.
How much?
18,000.
18,000 shloks, right? So we have 18,000 shloks and 332 adhyayas in Srimad Bhagavatam. And we are, of course, almost getting there. 3/4 is probably completed, right? So we are on chapter 10, chapter 9, chapter 10th of the 9th canto. And last time we read the text 8. Yeah. And the text 8 was carrying out the order of his father, who was bound by a promise to his wife, Sita Maya. Lord Rāmacandra left behind his kingdom, opulence, friends, well-wishers, residents, and everything else, just as a liberated soul gives up his life and went to the forest with Sita Maya. So the place we are at is where Lord Rāmacandra goes to Vanvas. Yeah, this is what we were reading last. We'll continue reading from here. So let's start from Shlok 9. Anilji?
रक्षः ससुरव्यकृत रूपमशुद्ध बुद्धे स्तस्या खरत्रिशिदूषण मुख्य बंधून जघ्ने 14 सहस्त्र मपारणीय कोदंड पाणिरटमान उवास कृष्णम. While wandering in the forest, where he accepted a life of hardship, carrying his invincible bow and arrows in his hand, Lord Ramachandra deformed Ravana's sister, who was polluted with lusty desires, by cutting off her nose and ears. He also killed her 14,000 Rakshas friends, headed by Khara, Tisira, and Dushana. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so we all know the story of Sulpanka, of course, right? And there he defeats 3 demons, right? Khar, Trishir, and Dushan. And along with Chaturdash Shahastra, right? 14,000 demons. Yeah, that's what Lord Ramachandra defeats. The next, Prem.
Sita Katha Shravan Dipit Pichan Yen Srashtam Vilokya Nripate Dashkandaren Jagne Dvatan Pushra Shramato Rukisto Marich Mashu Vivishkain Tatha Kamugra. O King Parikshit, when Ravan, who had 10 heads on his shoulders, heard about the beautiful and attractive features of Sita, his mind was agitated by lusty desires, and he went to kidnap her. To distract Lord Ramachandra from his ashram, Ravan sent Marichi in the form of a golden deer. And when Lord Ramachandra saw the wonderful deer, he left his residence and followed it and finally killed it with a sharp arrow, just as Lord Shiva killed Daksha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so we know this, how Marich became deer and how Bhagavan Ramachandra killed that deer. Pardon?
रक्षोधमेन वृक्वत् विपिने समक्षम वेदेह राजदुहितय पया पिता यामम भ्राता वने कृपणवत् प्रिय वियुक्त्याः स्त्री संघिनां गतिम इति प्रत्ययम chanchara. When Ramachandra entered the forest and Lakshmana was also absent, the worst of the Rakshasas, Ravana, kidnapped Sita Devi, the daughter of the king of Videha, just as a tiger seizes unprotected sheep when the shepherd is absent. Then Lord Ramachandra wandered in the forest with his brother Lakshmana, as if very much distressed due to separation from his wife. Thus he showed by his personal example the condition of a person attached to women. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Ajay?
दग्ध्वात्म कृत्य हत्र कृत्य महनम कृत्य महन कबंधम सख्यम विधाय कपिभिर्या गति तय बुद्ध्वात् वालिनी हते प्लवगेन्द्र सैन्ये वीलामगात् स मनुजो अजभवर्चिताद् इंद्रि. Lord Ramchandra, whose lotus feet are worshipped by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, had assumed the form of human being. Thus he performed the funeral ceremony of Jatayu, who was killed by Ravan. The Lord then killed the demon named Kabandh, and after making friends with monkey chiefs, killing Vali, and arranging for the deliverance of Mother Sita, he went to the beach of the ocean. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण. सो कंटिन्यूअसली सुखदेव गोस्वामी जी बहुत ही संक्षेप में रामचरितमानस का वर्णन कर रहे हैं. And you know, see how Lord Ramchandra has been described, right? The Lord Ramchandra whose lotus feet are worshipped by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, right? We have seen that it says Manuj avatar, he takes a Manu avatar, and Aj is Lord Brahma, Bhav is Lord Shiva. So Manujo Aj Bhavar Achitar Angri hai, right? Where the Lord Ramchandra whose lotus feet are worshipped by even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, right? Rina ji?
यद्रोवश भ्रम विवृत कटाक्ष पात संभ्रांत न क्रम करो भयगीर्ण घोषः सिंधु शिरस्य हरणम परिगृह रूपी पादार बिंदुमपगम्य वभाष एतत्. After reaching the beach, Lord Ramchandra fasted for 3 days, awaiting the arrival of the ocean personified. When the ocean did not come, the Lord exhibited his pastimes of anger and simplified by his glancing over the ocean. All the living entities within it, including the crocodiles and sharks, were agitated by fear. Then the personified ocean fearfully approached Lord Ramchandra, taking all paraphernalia to worship him. Falling at the Lord's lotus feet, the personified ocean spoke as follows. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So see how the personified ocean finally comes to Bhagwan Ramchandra, yeah, and then worship him, Padar Arvind Upagamya, and then he starts speaking, right, as follows. So what we are going to hear now is how the ocean is addressing Bhagwan Ramchandra. न त्वां वयं जडधियो नुविदाम भुवन् कुटस्थ आदिं पुरुषं जगताम् अधीशम् यत्सत्त्वतः सुरगणारजसः प्रजेशा मनोश्च भूतपतयः स भवान् गुणेशः. O all-pervading Supreme Person, we are dull-minded and did not understand who you are. But now we understand that you are the Supreme Person, the Master of the entire universe, the unchanging and original personality of Godhead. The demigods are infatuated with the mode of goodness, the Prajapatis with the mode of passion, and the Lord of Ghosts with the mode of ignorance. But you are the master of all these qualities. Yeah. So when the ocean understands who Bhagwan Ramchandra is, right? That's where he starts describing, like, you are the Adim Purusham, Jagatam Adisham, right? The Ishwar of the whole Jagat. And he says, like, how the Satogun, we know that there are 3 gunas, right? What are those 3 gunas?
Tamagun, Rajogun, Satogun.
Satogun, right? The mode of goodness, mode of ignorance, and mode of passion. And what is mentioned is how Devatas have Satogun, but they are infatuated by that, right? And Prajapatis, like the big Prajapatis, are by the Rajogun, and like Manush, like humans, and generally like associated with the tamoguns, and they are all engaged into those, but the Lord Ramchandra is the master of all these gunas, right? Is what is mentioned, right? And Jyoti?
I think she said she was only going to be in listen mode.
Jyoti only on the list. Okay.
Yes, Gajen, thank you.
Okay. You sure? You want to read or?
Okay, I'll read. Okay. Kamam prayahi jahi vishwaso mahe velokya ravana mavu pruhi veera palim vagnihi setumihi te yashaso vitatyo gayanti digvijayano yamupetyaha pupaha. Hare Krishna.
Can you read the translation?
Okay. My Lord, you may use my water as you like indeed. You may cross it and go to the abode of Ravana, who is great source of disturbance and crying for the three worlds. He is the son of Vishrava, but is condemned like urine. Please go kill him and thus regain your wife Sita Devi. O great hero, although my water presents no impediments to your going to Lanka, please construct a bridge over it to spread your transcendental fame. Upon seeing this wonderfully uncommon deed of your lordship, all the great heroes and kings in the future will glorify you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So what ocean, personified ocean, is telling Bhagavan Ram is Bandhanihi Setu Mihe, right? You make the bridge and then Gayanti Dik Vijayano. Like then, of course, everyone will be singing this in future, glorify you in future, and that's what we are doing right now. Like thousands of years ago, this has happened, and we still glorify that. It's a nice purpose, so we are going to read this. Mayur?
One feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramchandra, is omnipotence. The Lord can act without regard to material impediments or inconvenience. But to prove that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and was not merely advertised as Godhead or elected by popular vote, he constructed a wonderful bridge over the ocean. Nowadays, it has become fashionable to create some artificial god who performs no uncommon activities. A little magic will bewilder a foolish person into selecting an artificial god because he does not understand how powerful God is. Lord Ramchandra, however, constructed a bridge over the water with stone by making the stone float. This is proof of God's uncommonly wonderful power. Why should someone be accepted as God without displaying extraordinary potency by doing something never to be done by any common man? We accept Lord Ramchandra as the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he constructed this bridge, and we accept Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he lifted Govardhan Hill when he was only 7 years old. We should not accept any rascal as God or an incarnation of God, for God displays special features in his various activities. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anilji?
Therefore, the Lord himself says in Bhagavad Gita 4.9, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vyati tattavaha tyak tyaktva deham punar janma naiti mam eti so Arjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. O Arjuna, the activities of the Lord are not common. They are all transcendently wonderful and not able to be performed by any other living being. The symptoms of the Lord's activities are all mentioned in the Shastras, and after one understands them, one can accept the Lord as he is. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So very important, like in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna himself says that Janma Karma Cha Me Divya. Yeah. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance, Janma, activities, karma, right? Cha Me Divyam, the other transcendental activities. Upon leaving this body, it does not take the birth again in this material world. Yeah. Tyakta Deham Punarjanma. It does not. Tyakta Deham Punarjanma Neti. Mam eti so Arjuna. He goes back to my eternal abode, is what Lord Krishna is saying. That's why there is so much blissful spiritualism. I mean, all these kathas which we read, right? All these Ramayana, and we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the katha about Bhagwan, right? All this gives us that spiritual potency so that we understand the transcendental nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? Prem?
Badvo Dodho Raghupati Vividhar Drikute Setum Kapindra Karak Mit Bhuro Hage Sugriv Neel Hanumat Pramukh Haranike Lankam Vibhishan Drisha Vishatgrah Dham. Sukhdev Goswami said, after constructing a bridge over the ocean by throwing into the water the peaks of mountains, whose trees and other vegetation had been shaken by the hands of great monkeys, Lord Rāmacandra went to Lanka to release Sita Devi from the clutches of Ravan. With the direction and help of Vibhishan, Ravana's brother, and the Lord, along with the monkey soldiers, headed by Sugriv, Neel, and Hanuman, entered Ravana's kingdom, Lanka, which had previously been burned by Hanuman. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Again, in summary, Sukhdev Goswami is describing this to Parikshit Maharaj. Again, a nice purport. So let's read this. Tarun.
Great mountain peaks covered with trees and plants were thrown into the sea by the monkey soldiers and began to float by the supreme will of the Lord. By the supreme will of the Lord, many great planets float weightlessly in space like swabs of cotton. If this is possible, why should great mountain peaks not be able to float on water? This is the omnipotence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can do anything and everything he likes because he is not under the control of the material nature. Indeed, material nature is controlled by him. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharan. Only under his direction does prakriti or material nature work. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Ajay. Ajay.
Similar information is given in the Brahma Samhita 5.52. Yasya jnanaya bhramati sambhrata kala chakra govindam adi purusham tam aham bhajami. Describing how material nature works, the Brahma Samhita says that the sun moves as desired by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, for Lord Rāmacandra to construct a bridge over the Indian Ocean with the help of monkey soldiers who threw great mountain peaks into the water is not at all wonderful. It is wonderful only in the sense that it has kept the name and fame of Lord Rāmacandra eternally celebrated. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. And this is Brahma Samhita, which we know is the Lord Brahma's stuti to Purushottam Bhagwan, right? Govinda Bhagwan. Govindam adi purusham tam aham bhajami. Reena ji?
वानरेंद्र बलरुद्ध विहार कोष्ठ श्रीद्वार गोपुरस दोवल भिविटंका निर्भज्य मान दिशन ध्वज हेम कुंभ श्रृंगाटका गजकुलर्दिनीव घृणा. After entering Lanka, the monkeys' soldiers, led by chiefs like Sugriva, Neel, and Hanuman, occupied all the sporting houses, granaries, treasuries, palace doorways, city gates, assembly houses, palace frontages, and even the resting houses of the pigeons. When the city's crossroads, platforms, flags, and golden water pots on its domes were all destroyed, the entire city of Lanka appeared like a river disturbed by a herd of elephants. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jyoti? Jyoti, will you read? Anilji?
रक्षा पतितस्तदव लोक्य निकुंभ कुंभः कुंभ धूम्राक्षत दुर्मुख सुरांत कनरांत कादीन पुत्रम प्रहस्तमति काय विकाम पनादीन सर्वानुगान समहित समहिनोदथ कुंभकर्णम. When Ravana, the master of the Rakshasas, saw the disturbances created by the monkey soldiers, he called for Nikumbh, Kumbh, Dhumraksha, Durmukha, Suranaka, Narnataka, and other Rakshasas, and also his son Indrajit. Thereafter, he called for Prahasta, Atikaya, Vikampan, and finally Kumbhakarna. Then he induced all his followers to fight against the enemies. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And yeah, of course, we all know quite a lot about the Ramayana. Yeah. Okay.
Tam Yatudhana Prutnam Shilucha.
Bye.
Parasasti Sakti Sara Ratomar Khadg Durgam Sugriv Lakshman Marus Sut Gandhmad Nilan Gadraksh Pansabdibhir Avinito Gat. Lord Ramchandra, surrounded by Lakshmana and monkey soldiers like Sugriv, Hanuman, Gandhmad, Neel, Angad, Jamvan, and Panas, attacked the soldiers of the Rakshasas, who were fully equipped with various invincible weapons like swords, lances, bows, and prasas, pristis, shakti arrows, khadags, and tomars. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Tarun?
Tenikapaya Raghupater Asya Sarve Yodhan Varudhami Bhayapatira Dhasya Shiva Yodhe Jagnur Dhumer Giri Gadhe Subhir Angadadhaya Sitab Bhi Harshya Hata Mangala Ravaneshanam. Angad and the other commanders of the soldiers of Ramchandra faced the elephants, infantry, horses, and chariots of the enemy and hurled against them big trees, mountain peaks, clubs, and arrows. Thus the soldiers of Lord Ramchandra killed Ravana's soldiers who had lost all good fortune because Ravana had been condemned by the anger of Mother Sita. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nice purport. We'll read this. Mayur?
The soldiers Lord Ramchandra recruited in the jungle were all monkeys and did not have proper equipment with which to fight the soldiers of Ravan. For Ravan's soldiers were equipped with weapons of modern warfare, whereas the monkeys could only throw stones, mountain peaks, and trees. It was only Lord Ramchandra and Lakshman who shot some arrows. But because the soldiers of Ravan were condemned by the curse of Mother Sita, the monkeys were able to kill them simply by throwing stones and trees. There are two kinds of strength, Devya and Purukshara. What is that? Purukar. Purukshara. Devya refers to the strength achieved from the transcendence, and Purukshara refers to the strength organized by one's own intelligence and power. Transcendental power is always superior to the power of the materialist. Depending on the mercy of the Supreme God, one must fight one's enemies, even though one may not be equipped with modern weapons. Therefore, Krishna instructed Arjun, Mama anusarma yuddha cha. Think of me and fight. We should fight our enemy to the best of our ability, but for victory, we must depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of God. Hare Krishna.
Ajay?
रक्षः पतिः स्वबलनष्टि विवेक्ष्य रुष्ट आरुह्य यानकमथा ससार रामम् स्वः सन्देन द्युमति मातली नोपनीते विभ्राजमान महन्नित्रे Shurupre. Thereafter, when Ravan, the king of Rakshasas, observed that his soldiers had been lost, he was extremely angry. Thus he mounted his airplane, which was decorated with flowers, and proceeded towards Lord Rāmacandra, who sat on the effulgent chariot brought by Matali, the chariot driver of Indra. The Ravan struck Lord Rāmacandra with sharp arrows. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Rinaji?
रामस्तमाह पुरुषाद पुरीश कांता समक्षम सतापहृता श्ववत्ते त्ववक्त्र पस्य फलमध्य जुगुत्सि तस्य यक्षामि काल एव कर्दूरलंघर्य वीर्यः. Lord Ramchandra said to Ravan, "You are the most abominable of the man-eaters. Indeed, you are like..." Hold on, just 1 second. Sorry. Yeah. You are like their stool. You resemble a dog, for as a dog steals eatables from the kitchen in the absence of the householder, in my absence you kidnapped my wife, Sita Devi. Therefore, as Yamraj punishes sinful men, I shall also punish you. You are most abominable, sinful, and shameless. Today, therefore, I, whose attempt never fails, shall punish you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nice purpose. Let's read this. Anilji?
Nach with param balam. No one can surpass the strength of the transcendence. Ravan was so sinful and shameless that he did not know what the result would be of kidnapping Mother Sita. The pleasure potency of Ramacandra. This is the disqualification of the Rakshasas. Asatyam apratistham te jagat ahur anishwaram. The Rakshasas are unaware that the Supreme Lord is the ruler of the creation. They think that everything has come about by chance or accident, and that there is no ruler, king, or controller. Therefore, the Rakshasas act independently as they like, going even so far as to kidnap the goddess of fortune. This policy of Ravan is extremely dangerous for the materialistic indeed. It brings ruin to the materialistic civilization. Nonetheless, because atheists are Rakshasas, they dare to do things that are most abominable, and thus They are punishable without fail. Religion consists of the orders of the Supreme Lord, and one who carries out these orders is religious. One who fails to carry out the Lord's orders is irreligious, and he is to be punished. Hare Krishna.
Prem?
Evam Shipan Dhanushi Sandhitam Ur Utsasarj Barnam sa Vajrmiv Tad Hidayam Vibhed So Swargam Vaman Dashmukhen Yarpadam Vimana Taheti Jalpati Jane Sukritva Rikta. After thus rebuking Ravan, Lord Ramchandra fixed an arrow to his bow, aimed at Ravan, and released the arrow, which pierced Ravana's heart like a thunderbolt. Upon seeing this, Ravana's followers raised a tumultuous sound, crying, "Alas, alas, what has happened? What has happened?" As Ravana, vomiting blood from his 10 mouths, fell from his airplane, just as a pious man falls to earth from the heavenly planets when the results of his pious activities are exhausted. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Again, a nice purport. Read this, Tarun.
In Bhagavad Gita 9.21, it is said, Krishne punye martye lokam visanti. When the results of their pious activities are exhausted, those who have enjoyed in the heavenly planets fall again to earth. The fruitive activities of this material world are such that whether one acts piously or impiously, one must remain within the material world according to different conditions, for neither pious nor impious actions can relieve one from Maya's clutches of repeated birth and death. Somehow or other, Ravan was raised to an exalted position as the king of a great kingdom with material opulences. But because of his sinful act of kidnapping Mother Sita, all the result of his pious act were destroyed. If one offends an exalted personality, especially the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one certainly becomes most abominable, bereft of the results of pious activities. One must fall down like Ravana and other demons. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So what is the most important part mentioned here is ki, whether it's a past activities, good karmas, many times we say, oh, we will just do good karmas and that should be good, right? So the good karmas are going to give us good benefits, right? And may even promote you to the higher loks. Like we know how many loks are there in this universe?
14.
14 loks, right?
Yeah.
So we have 14 loks and we are on the 7th planet, right? That's the 7th planet. This Earth is the Bhulok. And then above us, we have 6 and then below. So as you do the past good karmas, you can get a better birth. You can even be promoted to higher loks. But then what is being mentioned is that when the results of those past activities are exhausted, yeah, those who have enjoyed in the heavenly planets fall again to earth. Yeah. So whether you do good karmas or bad karmas, you still will be in this materialistic world, but enjoying better benefits or whatever, right? Or so to get rid of this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease, that's where the devotional service comes into the picture, right? That's where do bhakti, surrendering to Supreme Personality of Godhead, is what is mentioned, right? Let's continue reading this. Jyoti, will you be able to read? Okay, Mayur.
It is therefore advised that one transcend both pious and impious activities and remain in the pure state of freedom from all designations. Sarvopadi vinir muktam tat paratvane nirmalam. When one is fixed in devotional service, he is above the material platform. On the material platform, there are higher and lower positions, but when one is above the material platform, he is always fixed in a spiritual position. Sa gunam samatityatyam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Ravan or those like him may be very powerful and opulent in this material world, but theirs is not a secure position because, after all, they are bound by the results of their karma. Karmanne devya netrani. We should not forget that we are completely dependent on the laws of nature. Prakriti kriyamani manani gunaya karmani sarvesha ahankara vimudhatam vimudhatma karotam itya manyata. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself the doer of activities that are actually carried out by nature. Bhagavad Gita 3.27. One should not be proud of one's exalted position and act like Ravan, thinking oneself independent of material nature's laws. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So, of course, we know that everyone is bound by the results of the karma unless you are above the material platform. And to get to the above the material platform is to do the devotional service. When one is fixed in devotional service, he is above the material platform, is what is mentioned. And what are the ways of doing devotional service?
Shravanam, Kirtanam, Patsanam, Archanam, 9 ways.
Yeah, there are 9 different ways of doing the devotional service. And when we say surrender to Lord Sri Krishna or surrender to Supreme Personality of Godhead, that really means is you get fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there are 9 different ways, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, like we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam or we are listening to the bhajans. Yeah, those are the kind of activities which are part of the devotional service. And slowly one gets elevated to higher platform, right? Is what is mentioned. So we are going to pause here. It's almost 10:30. And since we are reading about Bhagwan Ram, we are going to hear a nice bhajan about Bhagwan Ram. So let me up. And this is a nice bhajan. It was in one of the live katha by by Sri Ramesh Bhai Ojaji. So we'll hear that. It's 5 minutes. So.
By pragat kripala deen dayala kaushalya माँ कौशल्या के समक्ष भगवान सबसे पहले चतुर्भुज रूप में प्रकट हुए। माँ कौशल्या प्रभु की स्तुति कर रही है। हर्षित मुनिमनहारी अद्भुत रूप विचारी। हर्षित महातारी मुनिमनहारी अद्भुत रूप विरामा कंगन श्यामा निज आयुध भुजचारी। भूषण बनमाला नयन विशाला शोभा सिंधु भय प्रकट कृपाला दीन दयाला कौशल्या ब्रह्मांड निकाया निर्मित माया रोम रोम प्रतिवेद कहे हम सुवासी उपहासी सजग धीर प्रकट कृपाला दीन दयाला कौशल्या बोली सोमति डोली तजहु तात यह रूपा की जय सुलीला प्रियशीला यह सुख परम अनुरूपा भय सुन बचन सुजाना रोदन ठाना होई बालक सुरभूपा चरित जिगावन माँ कौशल्या ने भगवान की स्तुति करी। भगवान ने कथा सुनाया और माँ को समझाया कि मैं आपके घर पुत्र बनकर आया हूँ। तो माँ ने कहा कि फिर ये रूप आपने परमेश्वर का बनाया है, आप पुत्र बन करके आओ। ये 4 भुजा वाले हमारे बच्चे नहीं होते, हमारे बच्चे 2 भुजा वाले होते हैं। भगवान 2 भुजा वाले बन गए। बोले हमारे बच्चे वस्त्राभूषण के साथ प्रकट नहीं होते। तो भगवान माया रहित मुकुंदा हो गए और फिर कहा कि हमारे बच्चे जब प्रकट होते हैं तो हंसते नहीं है, रोते हैं। तो सुनि बचन सुजाना रोदन ठाना, भगवान बालक के रूप में जब रुदन करने लगे तो विप्रधेनु सुर संदहित लीन मन मन अवतार निज इच्छा माया रामचंद्र की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय, उमापति महादेव की जय। बोलो भाई सब संतन।
All right. So I think a nice restart. Yeah. And we will, 1 second.